Welcome to episode 4 of How Do You Manage by Not the Top 20. I'm Ali Maxwell, joined today by Dave Challinor, Stockport County manager. Hello, Dave.
Morning, how are you?
I'm really, really well. It's a pleasure to speak to you this morning. And I know you've got to take training soon, but I've got quite a lot of things that I've been looking forward to asking you. I once got told off by Richie Wellens for getting my stats wrong when introducing him. So I don't bother anymore. I get the man on the call to confirm. But can you confirm that you have achieved 7 promotions as a manager?
Yeah, that's correct. Although sometimes I get my strong, so I'm not too fussed, not like Richie, but yeah, that's right.
The Anthony Sarcevic of football management. Do you have a bit of fun with him? Have you messaged him at all this season, seeing which one of you might achieve your 8th promotion? Him at Bradford now.
He's going well, isn't he? So yeah, we're still in touch with Sars. 2 goals for him at the weekend. So we'd love to still have him with us for one reason or another. We couldn't get something done, but a great guy, someone who was really liked here, is still a popular member because a lot of the group that were here last year are still here. So someone that we're still in touch with. Battle to see if we can get another promotion. Fingers crossed with both of us.
Some player, isn't he? I like the idea that you're not allowed to have him for too long. It's like you have to let the magic spread out a little bit. And Bradford City certainly could, we're looking for that, and he's providing it at the moment. At the same time, you have got Ollie Norwood, who we used to call on the podcast the Championship cheat code, because there was a run of, I don't know how many promotions in a row that he achieved. So it's not like you haven't got a squad full of players with experience of success along with yourself.
A good swap. It's always great to be able to add people into your group that are used to winning and understand what that feels like, because especially when you get to the business end of the season, regardless of whether you have been there before or not, it is a little bit different. And naturally things get edgier the closer you get to the end. So if you've gone through that before and you can use your experience to help others, then that's only going to benefit the team.
Yeah, winning is very much your business. I think, and not to embarrass you too early on, but I think I'm right in saying that apart from the COVID season, which a lot of people are quite happy to just put in a box now and forget forever. I know Richie was the same, who we spoke to last time on the show. I think apart from that season, you have finished in the playoffs or obviously automatic promotion places in every season you've managed so far. I mean, I would be so stressed, Dave, at trying to maintain those standards. When George and I were doing TV for a couple of years, which was my lifetime ambition, my mates used to say, it's so cool to see that you've achieved what you always wanted to do. And, it's really nice to hear that sort of stuff. But I would say to them, you know what, my mentality is, don't screw this up now. And I wonder if it's kind of the same for you when you've set such an absurdly high standard so far.
It definitely is, and like you say, I'm more than happy to forget about that COVID year as well. Sure. Although at the time when I was at Hartlepool, we were sort of like a wet sail. We were absolutely flying, and I think we maybe could have just sneaked in there, but it got cut short. So I suppose it does bring that extra. Probably internal pressure, because nobody or not many other people will be aware of that. So it does come at an individual type thing. I think coming into this year where we were probably comfort that we maybe lose some games and we weren't going to be that team that was up near the top of the league in terms of budget, and one that was pushing for promotion and has promotion over the last couple of years has been sort of necessity. Really wasn't going to be the case this year, but from a personal perspective, with having the sort of stat you just say, that obviously becomes a desire to want to make sure that you're still competing. We always felt that the playoffs for us this year was achievable, would be a push, and we've got ourselves in the mix, so that's brilliant. But I think that's large testament to a new group that we've brought together that have gelled really quickly, and allowed ourselves to pick up some wins and put us in a strong position. And we hope to, from my perspective, keep that run going.
Yeah, fourth in League One when we're chatting, 7 points off second spot, and a couple of points cushion to a group in seventh and eighth place. And there's a decent pace being set beneath you, keeping you honest since you've made your way into the top six. I mean, you've partially alluded to it there. I was going to ask, is this where you expected to be, or are the team outperforming your expectations?
Probably a little bit of both. We don't expect anything. We sort of look this year, and for us, top 10 or top 12 in the top half finish would probably, in our first year back in League One, would be, probably the wrong word, but something that we thought was achievable. But alongside that, wanted to make sure that at the start of next season, we were in a better position than we were at the start of this season. So we'd improved in terms of our squad, our style of play, and all them bits. I suppose push target would have been playoffs, and then our sort of unbelievable target, if you like, reaching for the stars, would have been to get promotion. And we've still got the opportunity of doing all them three things, if you like. I think on the flip side of that, our performances and how we've played probably meant to a small degree, maybe underperformed a little bit. And when we look at data and look at stats, we sit in a good place around where we should be better off probably than we are. And probably the one thing that we've got to make sure that we get right, especially in this last half of the season, is this clinicalness. Because you look at Saturday's game, what we can't afford to do is cost ourselves through not taking the opportunities that we create. I suppose that's a positive. The fact that data would suggest that we're slightly underachieving at the moment for where we could be, but I think to be sat where we are has been a brilliant effort by everyone, and certainly take it with what we've got left to go.
This is so interesting to me, Dave, because I feel like I've spoken to a lot of managers before who have sometimes achieved great success, which can't be taken away, but have, if you're a guy that likes looking at the underlying numbers, has maybe been achieved overperforming the underlying numbers. So things like XG goal difference, XG ratio, the sorts of things that we might look at just as a guide to understand that, a team's level in terms of chance creation and chances given up outside of just the pure results. And it's always it can be quite a difficult topic to chat about with a manager that's achieved something above and beyond their numbers. And there are ways in which they will generally try and explain why they've been able to do that, why their team's been able to do that. And I find those conversations really interesting. I know that you guys will all know that your numbers, as we call them on the pod, have been exceptional for a long time. The season you didn't go up in League Two, the numbers were exceptional. Last season in League Two, the numbers were exceptional. And again in League One, right towards the very top teams in the division. So it's quite interesting to talk to someone who will know that they're really strong, can be very, very proud of that, and also wonder how you can either match or even overperform them, which some clubs do, to reach even greater success.
That's what you have to do. I think regardless of where you sit, our aim will always be to evolve. I think regardless of what your numbers are, you can always improve in something. So for us this year, we know over the past few years we've been really, really good in terms of our press and our counter press and the ability to play round and play over teams and cross the ball an awful lot. This year we wanted to add our ability to play through and have control in games when we've essentially got ourselves in winning positions, hence the recruitment that we made in the summer. Even within those little bits, there's always ways that you can improve. Them improvements might not be things that happen on the pitch all the time. They might not be technical improvements, they might not be tactical improvements, they might be stuff off the pitch, and that's something that as a club who our natural progression, we hope, as with quite a few teams in League One, is to try and get into the Championship. The reality of a club like ours going into the Championship is all of a sudden you are going to have to overperform your numbers and overperform everything in every aspect. So we may as well get ourselves in a mindset now, not that we've not been, that's what we have to do. And that's always been something that I've tried to do. We want to try and grow. We want to try and get better. We want to try and improve. of course, we want to try and do them things while still having success. And I suppose sometimes when you're totally embroiled in the results and winning, that sometimes becomes difficult. So you maybe your principles and what you want to work on can slightly be left behind, because fundamentally, and it's easy to do as a player. I totally get it. When you're winning games, the easiest thing to do is be, just keep doing what we're doing, keep doing what we're doing. We've got to change anything. Where you've got to open your mind and open yourself up to want to try and get better, and want to try and look for a little bit more towards the medium term, long term, whether that's as a team, whether that's as an individual. Because all these lads that we've got, our job fundamentally is to make them better for us, but make them better for themselves as well. Because they're all, or a lot of them, will want to step up and be able to play in the Championship. Now they might outperform or get to that level quicker than what we do as a team. Which again, it is fine, because it's part and parcel of our job as a management team.
I'm keen to get your thoughts more generally on League One and being a manager within this division, and the different things that you have to think about. It helps that you have such wide-ranging context of having managed in a number of different divisions, from the Northern Prem all the way up, National League, League Two and League One. So just broadly in footballing terms, in the things that you and your staff have to think about when setting up your team and the way the football looks and feels to you, how is League One different to League Two and the National League? Is there anything on a technical or tactical level that stands out that you have had to think about differently this year? I'm thinking about just generally what might happen when you move up any level in the pyramid. It could be anything to do with your defensive line. Do you need to be a little bit less aggressive or more aggressive? More pressure on the ball on the centre-backs because they're slightly better with their passing range? Do your centre-backs have to act differently with the strikers? Because in League Two, there's a lot of target men. In League One, a lot fewer target men. What sort of things like that?
Yeah, we still want to stick to what our principles are, and for us, we as a club, as a team, want to be a front foot, high intensity team that's purposeful possession, we'll call it. So we want to control when we can have controllables. We want to try and score goals and win the game as quickly as possible. We want to be high press. We want to be front foot. And I suppose we had to learn on the job a little bit. It's very easy going into a new division and go in. We want to try and win against teams. We want to be high pressing and up the pitch. And we'd have been daft if we'd have tried that, and we'd have been getting picked off and losing games. Thankfully, we've not. We've gone and been really aggressive against the best team in the league in Birmingham, and got us real joy in the two games. So we still want to be able to do that, but you have to, in my opinion, not culture and manager that just is single-minded enough to think that we're going to do this regardless of the opposition, regardless of what we play against them. We on pitch that maybe work for us, maybe don't work for us, without going into detail of individual players. If we've got centre forward that is a flying machine, and we're asking one of our centre backs to be man for man against them, that will probably end up in tears at some point. So we may have to be a little bit more careful around how we adapt. We'll slightly tweak our shape in terms of where we build, whether it's a low build, whether it's a high build. That's something that we've evolved based on our philosophy and based on what we want to do, and that doesn't really change. That the slight changes and tweaks depending on opposition shape. I suppose our job is to give the players as many choices and options as possible around solutions for problems, because we can prepare all week for the team and think that team's going to be in a certain shape, and we've done this all season, they do something completely off. And the players then need to be able to deal with that. And we have got the confidence that they've got the understanding of what the answers might be. And it's been the case, I think, more than anything for us. One of our biggest strengths is our adaptability, and that's in terms of the profile of players that we have. The ability to try and win games in different ways is something that, again, in terms of other managers, when we've spoken after games, when you have a drink and have a chat, that it's probably one of the things that they've complimented us on in terms of how we can win games, and that's testament to the players we've got and the way they've been able to take on instruction and understand a little bit what the game looks like and find a way.
Consistently for a few years, when we've been talking about Stockport County in League Two and now in League One, I've used the phrase a mixed style as opposed to high possession based style or a direct style, and those are quite binary terms. There's clearly quite a lot in between. But with you guys, I can't think of a better phrase than mixed style, even though it's not a particularly sexy phrase in and of itself. But it's the versatility that you have in the squad that's been built with particularly so many defensive players that can play feasibly centre back in a 4, right back in a 4, right wing back in a 5, right centre back in a 5, which I don't see to the same extent at other clubs. And when you break it down like you have about winning games in different ways against different types of opposition, about the players having options on how to act on the pitch depending on what they're up against, understanding that a lot of the game is based on what your opposition are doing as much as it is what you've tried to drill into your team. It's really interesting to me that I don't think we see this approach replicated, or even particularly trying to be replicated across other teams, particularly in League One and League Two, where frankly I think because of recruitment restrictions that you have and the players available, I think it's more difficult at that level to recruit to a really extreme style either way and get it right and get it really sustainable. So that's the way that we've been talking about it on the pod. It's really interesting to hear you break it down. I actually used last week a phrase that I've stolen from Tony Mowbray. I've stolen quite a lot of phrases from Tony Mowbray because I love listening to him talk about the game. And he always talks about soldiers and artists. And the way that I sort of think of that is on-ball players happy receiving it to feet, that you trust to take the ball in dangerous areas, progress the play and dictate the tempo, I guess, in a sense. But also off-ball players. And I think they can be a little underrated by fans because what they do is not quite as visible when they are on the ball, or when any player is on the ball. It's easy to see what they're doing with it and broadly how effective it is. But you have a number of players who I think, with their movement off the ball and their physical capabilities and the intelligence of their runs, help the players who are the artists on the ball, give them better options and just make the team more well-rounded in attack rather than predictable. And it must be nice to work within a club and a structure where the recruitment and your style of play, every manager and every director of football talks about recruiting to a certain style and building a squad that fits what the manager wants to do. But it's easier said than done. And I feel like the way that you guys have approached it has really, really helped with the club's progression.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I say, we have, I'm looking at the board now in terms of how we recruit and the positions that we recruit in, and we have what we call versatile right and versatile left defenders, and someone that can play right back, right side, centre back, right wing back, both sides. Similarly with pocket players around forward players, so we'll have dribblers that can play invert, that can play on the opposite side. We'll have people that are more pocket players and comfortable in spaces with people around them. And it's probably different than how other teams would recruit. As you say, teams generally will try and recruit to go, this is our style, this is our shape, and we ideally certainly higher up if we can have two players of equal standards for each of those positions, then that will work for them. We're slightly different. We want to give ourselves different ways of playing against different opposition while still not going away from what our principles are ideally for us. I'd say defensively and off the ball, we want to try and press. We want to try and be front foot. So I think that then becomes important in terms of like your wing back profiles, that they're comfortable playing higher up the pitch. So we'll shift around one way. If we need to become a 4, then one of our wing backs will go high. If we're jumping with a wing back, then it's important that your right side centre back in a 3 ultimately can defend in wide areas and not a stay-headed ticket centre back like I was. Going to be exposed in wider areas. So the profile of them players does become important. But for us as a management team, it gives us really good options. Whether them options are from the start of the game, or whether them options are to try and change the game from the bench, you can hopefully use that to try and get yourself results. That still doesn't go away from the fact that we'll have a I suppose a blue sky thinking way or thought process of what we think a game might look like. Hence why you look at the players we've got in the middle of the pitch with a Lewis Bates and Ollie Norwood, you mentioned, and we brought in, and people that are comfortable in possession. We hopefully this year have got that extra dynamic that allows us to do something this year that maybe we were good at last year and taken away from what we did, but we knew that we were going to have to step up in terms of how we wanted to play and how we want to do about it in a division of more quality. And lads have done really, really well.
And does this approach make it more difficult or more time consuming for you and your staff to coach the players the way that you want to play? I say that because with no experience on a training pitch, I understand that certain styles that are being implemented are because you want to get the messages into your players so that when they take to the pitch, they understand what they do on the ball. In particular, let's say from goal kicks or from build up in your own defensive third, and having a so-called philosophy of short passing or the opposite of that, I guess makes it at least clear for the players what their manager wants them to do in every situation, because it's the way that the team plays and that's been set in stone. With the way that you guys play, it feels like there's every which way that a player could play depending on the situation, and therefore presumably quite a lot of coaching that goes into when to play through the middle, when to work it out wide along the ground, and when to hit Big Kyle up top or Olafe in behind. How do you actually coach that into your players?
Yeah. So we did a big batch of work in pre-season around our build shape and ideally what that would look like if we were deep or if we were high. We've had to tweak that as we've gone through. So again, it's not been set in stone. It's looking at what we felt would work for us with the personnel that we've got, and that's been I suppose constantly evolving. I think early on in the season we saw some really good bits, but not on a consistent level. I think we've got to the point now where the players absolutely understand it. The big thing for me about what we're asking though, and I think as coaches sometimes, well, not all the time, we're responsible for trying to make players like robots and give them all the answers. And the biggest thing I noticed when I was a player, when I was going and played against teams of a higher level, was that the top players made the right decision. 99% of the time, I had the technique and ability to be able to make that decision the right one, and the necessary skill. That's all our players to do. So there's times, in my eyes, if the right decision is to move the ball out the ground, then that's the right decision. If the right decision is to make the pass, and if you make the right decision and that pass doesn't come off, it's all right. People are going to make mistakes. There's still nothing wrong with, in my eyes, being a defender or a fullback in putting the ball out your feet and shaping it into a channel and getting teams on the back foot. So it doesn't become about going, in this situation, you have to do this. In this situation, your options are to do this, or to do this, make the right decision. That doesn't mean that every time our fullback gets the ball, or every time our centre midfield gets the ball, I just want them to spin it in behind, or every time our goalkeeper gets the ball, I don't always want us to play. I don't always want us to play long. I want us to make the right decision based on what you see. If teams are full press against you, then your overloads might be somewhere else on the pitch. If your overloads on the top line, you can hit that top line straight away. I have no issue at all with that. If your overloads are closer to your goal and teams have sat back and got numbers behind the ball, then I'd want us to build. So it doesn't become so much about, it comes around their philosophy and what we want to do. It becomes about players making the right decision based on what they see and playing the game, not playing the game that I think they might see before we go into it.
Well, I'd love to ask a quick one referencing Louis Barry, but it's not really specifically about Barry, but more about the team since he left, which I'm sure you're keener to focus on. I guess the general question is, how is it that a team can lose a player that has scored 15 goals in half a season, around 40% of the team's total, and so many of them showing incredible individual quality rather than just the team putting a tap in on a plate for him to rack up the goals, as well as his dribbling ability as well, which is an amazing attribute for any team to have. How is it that you can lose a player like that and not be affected, not just in terms of results, which have obviously been excellent, but the underlying numbers suggest that the team has not been affected hugely overall?
I think, like we said earlier, because of our adaptability and our ability to be able to play in different ways, so the dynamics for us is can be different based on the personnel we have. So if you look at last season when Woods was out of the team, Tanto and Louis formed a partnership. Now we looked last year to recruit with a slight change of shape. We from the National League being 3-5-2 and having two centre forwards and crossing the ball and scoring lots of goals from crosses. We wanted to still be able to do that, but evolve slightly and look for inverted wingers that could play in sort of 10 slots, but would be ball carriers and pace. We managed to bring Louis in. We didn't manage to get a left-sided one. So we sort of played 3-5-2 with Louis being in that left half space that he loves to get. Coming to this year, it was exactly the same, really. We wanted to try and get tens or wingers that could play inverted on the left-hand side. We brought in Jayden February. Unfortunately, Jayden got injured at the start of the pre-season and missed a little bit. We wanted to have that both sides, if you like. But Will Collar ended up playing, which Will's different to Will, but can find the box and can find little pockets. There's more midfield that gives that flexibility to a 3-5-2 if we need to, or stay 3-4-3. Once then you take Louis out of it, we don't have a natural... We could play Jack Hyman there, but Jack's not had the numbers, if you like, that Louis had over the course of his career. But we're playing with Woods as a central striker. We're playing for Louis in the half space, playing Will Collar in the right half space. Louis goes out, somebody else in there. Or we can just tweak our shape a little bit and play Tanto, and sometimes end up as a two up front with what sometimes end up in them little slots. We've got, like I said, because of the recruitment and because of the versatility with the team, we've got loads of options. There's still then going to be the pressure on the players to make sure we're still producing the chances. But I suppose history would tell you over the last couple of years, we have been a team that's created chances. It just so happens that, as you said earlier, around a cheat code, and people would think that in the first half of the season we had a League One cheat code because Louis kept scoring worldies every week, which was great for us and great for him. But again, I still believe that although Louis got out of the team, it's obviously going to be a blow for us and a disappointment, that the team would adapt and would find a way, and they've done it really well.
And just before you head off to training, I'd love just to ask a few more direct questions about Dave Challinor, the manager, and the 15 years or so that you've had now on this side of the game, having retired. I mean, all the stuff we've just talked about, the way that you see the game, which is therefore the way that your team looks on the pitch, and is also linked to the way that Stockport County, the people that you work with, have decided is the way that they'd like to build the club and move the club forward. All the things that we've talked about. To what extent has this always been the way that you've seen the game from the moment you rocked up at Colwyn Bay and were appointed player manager? And how much have things developed and changed over time?
It's strange for me. I always wanted to try and go into coaching and management, but that doesn't mean that when I was playing, I really sort of took a keen interest on for how the game was different then. So when you come into a management role, you'll have a probably a blue sky thinking way of playing based on other managers and other teams and other how you want the game to look, and that's not really based on system. So go back to Colwyn Bay, was more probably similar as a group to what I was involved in at Tranmere. So a real good group of lads that massively outperformed what we should have done really, but got on really, really well and got a promotion and played in a 4-3-3, 4-5-1. ideally you want to play out from the back, but you're playing at levels really low and not big pitches with players that find difficult times. So you have to mix things up. You then go into different roles, and sometimes, again, I'm a believer that how you maybe want a team to play can be based around the team you go into to manage, the team you go into to sort of work with. So obviously had a long period at Fylde where there was expectation and wanting to get promotion, which we had players that were above the level, in my opinion, so we were strong teams and moved up. Our style there was a little bit different. We could be more probably possession based because fan base wasn't as big and wasn't as demanding. All of a sudden, going into Hartlepool, that was a big club that was in the wrong position, if you like, having dropped down into the National League, but a really, I'll say, aggressive fan base, really vociferous fan base that wanted to get behind the team and wanted the team to be front foot, play forward. And we did that and did really, but we still had Gary Little in the team who was a ball player. We still had Nicky Featherstone in the team who was a ball player, midfield player who was still on ball all day. So we had a really good combination of both those things. Similarly at Stockport, you come into a team that the ability of the team you had in the National League was crazy, well above the level, and you're in a club that, again, in my eyes, the front foot nature and wanting to try and run all over teams and jump on teams is something that if you've got 10,000 people in the ground, for me, then you have to get them 10,000 people at your back and with you. And you do that by giving them something to shout as often as possible and try and make the game as exciting as possible. So you're always adapting and evolving what you're trying to do. Within that time, I've played 4-3-3, I've played 3-5-2, I've played 4-2-2, I've played 3-4-3, loads and loads of different systems. In my eyes, you're constantly changing. And this probably comes, or it's reinforced. I started my pro license last year, so I'm finishing in June. I probably, in terms of management terms, learned on the job. My development and progress has come through experience at different situations. I wish I'd written a book. Things that didn't. It would have been amazing. Now going into the pro license, I think that just for me opens your eyes and opens your mind up to what other people are doing and what high performance teams look like and what leading things look like. It has reinforced that look for things we're doing all right, but it's also opened me up to say, okay, well, this is something that's a little bit different. Can we do this? Can we do that? Can we move forward in this way? Can we look at what other teams and other people do in different grounds, different departments, all them things to allow myself to get better and move forward. I don't think you're ever going to be not learning as a manager. And sometimes when you've had success, change is not nice. It's uncertain. You'd be like, even with some of our staff, it's like, why would you change? Why would you change what you do? And we're not changing just for the sake of changing. We're looking at things. We're trying things. We're open to ideas, and if those ideas don't work, then again, quite easy enough to sort of revert back to where you were at. But if you don't try and evolve and try and move forward in this game, standing still means you'll go backwards, because everybody else, whether it be through recruitment, whether it be through coaching, whether it be through psychology, everyone's trying to increase their margins a little bit on how they can improve. It's something that I believe that we do really, really well here. But it's something that we really need to keep on doing, because it'll only make it.
And in terms of your leadership style, the way you look to deal with the human element, the way that you look to deal with the media element, which obviously increases as you move up the divisions in particular. I mean, you haven't lost back-to-back league games yet this season. I think last season it happened twice. The season before it happened twice. in the first month of the season. So Stockport under Challinor have a very good record of bouncing back after defeats. And one thing that we've mentioned a couple of times on the podcast, because it stands out, is how you can occasionally, not every single time your team loses, but occasionally be quite direct, quite blunt, and call your team out when you see something that that you're not happy with. And I'm just generally interested about how and when you decide to do that sort of thing, how you make sure you do it in the right way rather than in a way that comes across like you're ranting emotionally and you've lost control, because that must be really important. Dave, it does make me laugh, but it must be important for you, because we are constantly told about managers losing the dressing room, and seemingly it can happen quite quickly. That there's something about the makeup of a football dressing room where if you do say the wrong thing, maybe you can lose people quickly. So you must have to be careful with this. I'm interested in your approach.
Yeah, listen, I'm not a good loser, and the players know that. And football, it is a really emotional game. It's our lives at the end of the day. And as much as I can talk about development and all them things, your week can be dictated to by what happens on a Saturday afternoon, and your family's week can be dictated to as well. So it's something that I have definitely got better at. Thing players that have been with me for a long time, I would hope they'd see that. For players that have just come to the club, or they think I'm a lunatic at times, because I want us to do well. I want us to win. I only do it from a place of caring, because I know what we can be and what we can do, and where we have to learn. So again, after the game, you are very emotional. I think you come, you go through a Sunday, you look back at the game, and you look at, so with every game, we look at things, whether win, lose or draw, we look at things that we've done well, things that we do better. We'll have lots of unit meetings, individual meetings, try and get information off players around that decision-making process that we've spoken about, give them some ownership, some accountability within the group. You do have to be careful, because you're in a time now where every play is different. The game's changed. I think look back to when you were when I was playing, everybody was treated the same. If you like, you had to come up with individual coping strategies of how you get through and how you deal with disappointment, adversity, and all them bits. And I think there's still a place for that, because I think it makes people, or did make people, more resilient and stronger. But within the pro license, we've done personality profiles and all of our players. We spotlight profile them all, so we know where they are and what their norm is. So we're trying to learn and trying to, I suppose, give them the best information in the right way at the right time. But ultimately, in a dressing room after the game, if you've not won or you've not performed, every single person there is disappointed. Every single person there wants to win. So what you say can be important. What I'd say within the media and things, I won't say anything to the media that I'm not said to the players, and I think the players know where I'm at around my feelings for them and how well they can do. My job is to first and foremost be successful for Stockport County. Secondly, is to make them better and make them better individually, make them better collectively as a group in order to go and achieve something. And I know through experience and being able to have the joy of winning over time, that can be really, really special, and you can create memories that will last a lifetime. This is a new group, and they have the opportunity to go and achieve. So we want to stick to our behaviours that are true to our belief, the beliefs and standards that the players have come up with around their culture. If they drop below that, they'll expect to be told. But just as much as if they don't, you can't win every game. We went through a phase over Christmas where Huddersfield, Rotherham, Birmingham, Mansfield, 3 games in Rotherham, Huddersfield, and Birmingham. We were fantastic and we picked up 2 points. 10 points. If the players have performed and we've not got what we deserve, they're not going to get it from me. I know what they can do. I know what we're planning on doing. Sometimes it doesn't happen, and sometimes you can get emotional. That doesn't mean to say that if I feel I'm in the wrong and said something after the game when I dealing with it, push the game back. It's not been quite like that. I'll apologise and hold my hand up because we're all human. We're all emotional. We all want to do well. We all want to win. I suppose experience will give you the feeling of when and where to do that.
What motivates you, Dave? 15 years into your management career, if we say you'll get another 15, hopefully at the very least, what motivates you right now?
Winning motivates me. Being successful motivates me. I love my job. I'll never underestimate how fortunate I am to be in a managerial role, and maybe that comes from the fact that, as you say, I'd start. It's not disrespectful right at the bottom, but in terms of management, even where I'm sat now, I've never been offered a football league job. I've had to take 2 teams into the football league to get to where I am. So that will never be lost. I love being outside on the grass. I love working with the players. I'm motivated from loads and loads of different things. But ultimately, the opportunity to be successful and to put a group of people together and work with both more than one objective, but an objective is trying to be successful is something that excites me every day. So as grumpy as that can be when we've lost the game, that'll soon be gone. See the players again this morning, be outside, working with people that want to improve is something that I love doing, and you're right, it continues for another 15 years or so. I've enjoyed everything I've done up to now, and hopefully that'll be the case over the next period of time.
Well, I'm slightly pleased that I've avoided grumpy Dave Challinor, albeit I think it might have made for quite good content. I'm so grateful for your time, and we will let you get out on that grass now, Dave, but thanks for joining us.
Oh, brilliant. Thanks for having me.